Hello, everyone, and welcome to week five. Week five probably creates a little stress for everybody because what we're going to do now is do an assessment. This assessment is basically a project and a written test to see how you're doing and what you're understanding. Though I know tests and projects like this can be a little stressful, my goal is that it's not that stressful for you, but I want you to take it seriously. I want you to try to figure out and try to really see what it is you know and what you don't know during this week. If you find out you're right on course after you take both of these, great. If you find out you're not doing so well and you're falling a little bit behind and you're lacking some basic understanding, that's okay too. That's what this test should really assess. Where are you in your knowledge? If you find you're not where you should be, then you need to contact your instructor for help. Okay? So that's what I want you to do. I want you to be honest with yourself when you take this test. I don't want you trying to get other people to help you. I want you to try it. I want you to do it to really so we can figure out where you are and then get you the help you need if you need help. I hope that makes sense. So with this said, we're in week five, and I have the instructions sitting right here. I want you to read these. For the most part, there are two parts to the test. There is test one, part one, which is a written essay test, and there's test one, part two, which is a practical test, meaning you're going to write a program, do the design and the program for that part of it, okay? The combined value for this is worth 15% of your final grade. 5% is test one, part one, 10% is test one, part two. We're talking about your overall grade, okay? This is be worth 15%. So once again, take this seriously and do well at the best you possibly can, I should say, okay? All right. To prepare for the test, I basically said you're listening to this video. I hope you are. I want you to listen to the entire video to ensure you completely understand what it is that's being asked of you and what you should be doing to do well in this test. Okay. Note all the due dates. And hopefully immediately you are out here and you're looking at the due dates for both parts. Don't miss them. Don't fall behind. There is no grace period in any of these for any reason. You have 1 week to get these complete, and that should be more than enough time, even if life happens or whatever. Get them complete. Plan your time accordingly. Test one, part one is a written test. It will take you approximately about 1 hour to complete once you start it. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes about what it's all about. But give yourself plenty of time. Make sure you're on a good internet connection, and don't wait till the last minute to take this test. So you don't, if something happens, you can't recoup from it. So with that said, prepare for it, and then take it once you're ready. Test one, part two will be will be a project. It's going to be very similar to the projects you've been doing up to this point. It's just to ensure that you're understanding the concepts and you can do everything we're asking you to do up to this point. Okay? I put in here how you can prepare for both of them. Test one, part one, I provided you a review for test one, part one. These are the topics that you'll be asked questions about. Okay, with that said, make sure that you review all of these. Make sure you know all of these prior to taking the test. The test will be timed, okay, meaning you don't have a lot of time to look up things, meaning you don't have any time at all to look up things. It's 10 questions, 10 multi-part questions. Each question is going to probably take you at least 5 minutes to type them all out. So make sure you're very well prepared walking into the test, okay? And again, if you understand all of these and you can actually answer questions upon all these different topics, you should be fine. How do you prepare? Hopefully the notes you've taken as you listen through all the videos, or you can go back and listen to the videos based upon these particular topics. But you're going to be asked to explain very clearly your knowledge on each one of these topics, okay? The second part, how you're going to review for this test, one simple piece is go back and look at all the solutions leading up to this date, okay? Specifically last week. All right. If you like, go back and listen to assignment 6. I have posted a solution, and I've also posted a video that reviews assignment 6. I would go back and listen to that completely and make sure you completely understand how assignment 6 should have been resolved from the design to the program. If you understand everything we're doing, you should be very well prepared to take this particular practical test. All right. So review for test 1 is sitting there. Test 1 part 1. Once you're ready, you'll go to test 1 part 1. You'll click here and you will press begin. Do not do that until you're ready to go, because once you press begin, you cannot get out of the test. If you get out of the test by accident, or you go in and you're a little nosy and you're thinking, I'm going to press it to see if I can see any questions, you will not be allowed back in, and your final grade will be whatever you answered, okay, in that case. If you answered nothing, it'll be a 0. Do not call me up or call up your instructor and say, please reset this. It will not be reset. Only begin the test once you are ready to take it. Once you're ready to take it, the timer will begin. Okay, you'll have 75 minutes to answer all questions. The test should take approximately 1 hour. I give you a little grace period for those who type a little slower, but with that said, answer them. Do not worry so much about spelling or grammar. Do your best you can with it, but because you want to make sure that the instructor who is grading this can understand what you're saying, but don't worry too much about it, okay? I don't want you spending hours trying to, make it all grammatically appropriate. I know we have several people taking this test where English is your second language. Do the best you can with it, but we will not take off due to grammar or spelling or grammar, okay? Make sure you do your own work, okay? I want you to answer every question with your own words. Do not cut and paste. Blackboard has a wonderful tool that will basically say you cut and pasted that in there. If the instructor sees that you did that, you will get a 0 on that question immediately. Do not cut and paste. Answer every question in your own words. That also means just don't go find an answer and retype it. Okay, if need be, the professor can actually go do a check on that to see if those words are actually plagiarized from somewhere else. Use your own words to define your answer. We want to know if you understand it, not that you can cut and paste it or type it back in. I want to know your answer. Okay? Answer all questions thoroughly. Do not be vague. Okay? If you're vague on any answer, your grade will reflect that. Make sure you answer all the parts of the questions. There are multiple parts on each question. 1 or 2, I say multiple, 1 or 2 or 3 parts. Answer all parts. Don't leave any part unanswered. If you do, points will be taken off. Answer all parts. Okay? Once again, it's a time test. It's a 10 multi-part questions. So you can basically assume there's at least 20 questions in here based upon the multiple parts. Be prepared and note that you have 75 minutes to answer them all. Okay? I don't think you need to race through it once you start it. You should have plenty of time if you have the knowledge of what and knowledge of these particular pieces of content that you should know. Okay? Make sure you have a good internet connection. As instructors, we hear all the time, my internet went out. It's possible it could do that. Don't do that. Find yourself a connected connection if you have to. Whatever it takes, make sure you have a good internet connection. If the internet happens to go out during your test, we will not allow you back in. You'll be responsible for that. Okay? So please make sure you got a good connection and you're ready to go. All right? I know a lot of negativity around there. I don't want this to be a negative experience for you. I want you to sit back and read the questions and answer them to the best of your ability. That's all I ask. Based upon what your score is, it will reflect on what you know and don't know. It does nobody any good to sit back and if you don't know things and all you did was copy and paste it and everything else, that doesn't tell me you understand anything. You need to understand this to move forward and move forward with confidence. Does that make sense? So I'd rather you answer a question wrong versus cutting and pasting a right answer. Does that make sense to you? okay? I'd rather you answer it wrong versus that. So at least I have the knowledge that you don't understand this yet. And then with that, we can find you help to get that understanding. Okay? Test one, part two will be the practical. Okay, once ready, you can click on this folder right here, and the practical will be there for you to be able to take. Okay, note the due dates on both of them. So I have these due dates here. Okay, and these will be reflected and updated based upon when you're taking this course, of course, and so on. But note them and plan for them accordingly once you see this test. Okay, plan for them accordingly. Give yourself the time. Hopefully you're looking at this at the beginning of the week and you can say, I'm going to take this test on Thursday and I'm going to get my practical done by this time. Does that make sense? So with that said, plan accordingly, okay, your time. Don't wait till the last minute to do both. Note also the test must be completed by a specific time. If you start the test at 11:50, the night before it's due, or the night it's due, and you finish 50 minutes afterwards, first of all, the test will actually shut itself off, and it won't be counted. Okay, so at minimum, if you have 1 hour to complete this, at least start an hour before its due date and time. And my recommendation is don't do that either. Give yourself plenty of time to do this. Okay. Let's look at the tests for this. Okay, it'll be test one, part two. Yep. And so this particular test is going to ask you, or this particular problem is asking you for a concert promoter wants to create a program that will calculate the total purchase price based on the number of tickets sold per customer. The program would like the user to enter the number of tickets being purchased by the customer and the individual price for each ticket. In this case, it's the customer price for each ticket. So there wouldn't be separate prices based upon the tickets you're buying per customer. So in this case, it's kind of weird, I know, and I don't want you to worry about the weirdness of this problem. You're going to enter in how many tickets you want and the price for each ticket. Okay, so for instance, I want 2 tickets at $10. Or maybe I can enter in 5 tickets for $10. There would be different prices for each ticket, just one price per customer. Okay, does that make sense? So your inputs in this case would very simply be number of tickets I'm buying and the price I'm buying them at per ticket. All right. Okay, once calculated, the total will be subject to a 7% tax, given the overall total for the ticket purchase per customer. Okay, for each purchase, the program must show the total before taxes, the tax, and the total for the purchase. So in this case here, if I'm buying 2 tickets at $50 each, it'd be $100. The tax would be $7, and my total purchase would be $107. Does that make sense? The promoter will also like to keep and display a running total of the number of tickets sold through the day and the gross total sales. This does not include tax for the day, and the total profit for the day. The total profit is determined by a promoter's cut 20% per ticket. So in this case here, as he sells tickets throughout the day, every time a customer comes in and he basically buys tickets, we want to keep track of how many tickets he's actually sold, how much the gross sales, meaning the total for all the purchases, I should say, and the promoter gets a 20% profit from all those gross sales. That's what we're looking for. That should be on your form. All right. The program has the ability to clear the previous purchase input. This does not include the running totals. Make sure you don't clear out any of the running totals. And the program must have the ability to close the program. All right. Your job is going to be 2 pieces here. Design your program as taught, okay, with the inputs, the outputs, and so on and so on and so on, all the way through your pseudocode. You're going to hand that in, and you're going to do the project. Grading will be based upon this rubric. If you actually scroll down in the problem, you'll see the rubric in which you'll be graded. You're going to develop the design on a Word document that shows the inputs, outputs, logical order of the outputs all the way through. All right, once again, in previous videos, you don't have to be doing these things in order, just make sure they're all done, okay? But I would categorize them. Here's my inputs, here's my outputs, here's my pseudocode, here's my test cases, and so on. Here's my variables, here's my data type, and here is the scope. Does that make sense? Do it like I showed you in previous solutions. Okay? You're going to write the program based upon your design that adheres to all requirements. Okay? 45 points that produce, so that's worth 45 points. This is worth 30 points. If you handed a program that doesn't meet the requirements, you could lose points based upon that. Document your program, like we showed you before. At a minimum, document it by saying, here are the local variables. I'm getting my input. I'm doing my calculations, so on. You can add more to it. That would be great, but you can get up to 5 points based upon documenting the program. Use proper naming conventions, Hungarian notation for all controls and variables. Okay, so that would be TXT for a text box, LBL for a label, BTN for a button. It's the DBL for double or DEC for decimal, INT for integer. Get the idea? So that's for the controls and the variables. All right. You can use a constant for the tax rate and the promoter's profit. Those will be worth 5 points. Hungarian notation will be worth 5 points. And ensure your form is well designed. Use group boxes that were reviewed here last week. Make sure you have group boxes on there. Make sure you don't have group box 1, group box 2 in the group box. Actually state what's in the group box. Give a definition of what's in there. And make sure form 1 is not on the top of your form. State what the program's for on your form. Make sure everything is aligned. Make sure you don't have a bunch of big space on your form for no apparent reason. Make sure buttons are the same size and grouped and centered, okay? Make sure everything is spelled correctly. Make sure tab to the next control easily. Don't worry about the tabbing so much, but then focus is put on the correct control upon clearing, not focus, all right? Everything's aligned, everything is in unison. Make sure it looks professional, like the examples I provided and the solutions I provided. That's what you're going to be graded on, and that's worth 10 points in itself. Okay, so please note this rubric and what is expected of you to write this program. If you have any questions about this program, once again, do not ask anybody, only ask your instructor. All right, finally, I'm going to come up to this part right here, and I'm going to talk about what this is a test. Yes, this is an online course, but this is still a test. This test should be your own work. Okay, do not collaborate about this test. I'm talking about test 1 part 1 and test 1 part 2 with your class peers, your family, co-workers, whomever. Don't talk to anybody about it. Do your own work. Okay, if there's any indication of cheating or plagiarizing, okay, and we're not that stupid, trust us, okay? We can tell in about 1 second by reading the answer and by looking at code. Do your own work, okay? But if there's any indication, you'll fail the test, fail the course, and be up for expulsion from the college. Don't do that. Do your own work. If anybody asks you, one of your peers asks you for help, don't give it. State that this is supposed to be your own work. Okay, don't risk it, don't chance it is my best advice. Do your own work. And if you do that, everything will be fine. Again, this test is not here to punish you. This test is to determine where you are in the course so we can help you and help you move forward successfully. All right? All right, that's everything we have. Once again, if you have any more questions about this test before beginning, please ask your instructor.